Ooh, now I want to hear about the juicy pillow fight drama. What the heck's a Vic bomb? In any case, sandwich everyone, how are we all doing? I hope you're having a good day, or evening, or night, or wherever it is, whatever you are. Hello, dude, guess what? In 2 days, very special day is my birthday. Happy early birthday then. Well done. You beat him. Yay. Now there's a now that happened. There's a what's the word I'm looking for? There's an achievement. Here's some help. Bomb. Good grief. Luna Roadblocks, welcome to the stream. You've come to a very, very good time. I've just started. How are you doing? Hope everyone's doing alright today. I did put things out on my Twitter, so hopefully we'll gain a few more people. But anyways, today we've got plenty of work to be doing. Not to mention also new show for you all. I'll probably put it on once I'm done with Mary Mungo and Midge, actually. Let's see if I can click interact. Here we go. I've got the window open on my other monitor. Did XP? Yep, I found like an upscaled version of the XP default thing. So let's go.
And some narrow.
You guys can hear everything properly now, right?
Buildings of
I
flats
just realised the audio output capture in OBS was turned all the way down. Ducky D, thank you so much. Deuterium, absolutely lovely content. I feel the inspiring and fun. Good luck. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. Anyway,
a river runs through the middle of the town.
You'll be very happy about this stream, man, because
large boats
I'm doing some research into a new video. I'm going to kind of make another pass,
so that the cars and buses and lorries can get to the buildings on the other side.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make another pass just sort of over the
The cars and the buses and the streets are full of people. In fact, there are a lot of people in a town.
Another pass over the songs
Do
I've
you
already
live
done.
in a town? Mary, Mungo, and Midge live in this town.
You
They
are
live
an
with Mary's
idiot.
mother and father in this tall block of flats.
I remember
They live
that.
right at the top.
I remember hearing about it. Apparently it doesn't really do that much
There are
anymore,
8 flats built on
because
top
it's
of
such
each
an
other.
old virus.
Mary, Mungo, and Midge live in the flat with the flowers growing in the window box. There's Mary. There's Mungo.
Indeed, Kingdom of the Lavender, we're going to be...
And there's Midge. Mary,
Opening
Mungo,
up my
and Midge have
old,
a large sunny
one.
room to play in. A room full of games and toys and
where was it?
picture books.
There it is.
Mary's always got something to do. Today she's looking at
There's
one
my
of her
display
books.
capture.
It's full of
Here it is.
pictures of ships and boats.
Move that out of the way.
Mungo is very interested.
Briefly.
There seem to be so many different sorts of boats. Mary's other friend is
And-
Midge Mouse.
Come on.
He's usually very difficult to find because he's so small and runs very quickly. He's inquisitive. That means he's
This'll
always
do it.
trying to find out things.
There we go, got it.
Ah, there he is, beside Mary's toy boat. It's a yacht. Her father has promised to take them to the pond to sail it. Look, Midge has got his flute.
Oh, we had that one yesterday, didn't we? I think we had only this one left.
A town is full of
Gotta
buildings.
love a bit of...
Some tall, some short, some wide, and some narrow. The buildings are
I mean, it's
flats
not
and
expired.
houses and factories and shops. They're built in streets. The streets have cars and buses and lorries driving along them.
I'm making another
A
pass
river
over these
runs
ones
through the
because
middle of the town.
yesterday,
The river has large boats and small boats.
last time even, I think I...
There's a bridge across the river so that the cars and buses and lorries can get to the buildings on the other side. The cars and the buses and the streets are full of people. In fact, there are a lot of people in a town. Do you live in a town? Mary, Mungo, and Midge live in this town. They live with Mary's mother and father in this tall block of flats. They live right at the top. There are 8 flats built on top of each other. Mary, Mungo, and Midge live in the flat with the flowers growing in the window box. There's Mary. There's Mungo. And there's Midge. Mary, Mungo, and Midge have a large, sunny room to play in. A room full of games and toys and picture books. Mary's always very busy. She's always got something to do. Today, she's writing a letter to her grandmother to thank her for a birthday present. Mungo is helping her. He's a wise old dog, so old and wise that he can usually help Mary with whatever she's doing. He's holding the paper down to make it easier for Mary to write. Mary's other friend is Midge Mouse. He's usually very difficult to find because he's very small and runs very quickly.
You're doing all the inaccuracies video on the Yakko's World 19th Century song.
He's always trying to find out
I've heard that a lot.
What does he want in that toy
Just
lorry?
ignore the racist doll in the thing.
Ah, his flute. Midge likes music. He likes it so much that he's learned to play a flute. But he only knows one tune so far. You listen. I wish that mouse would learn another tune.
At least we know where he is. Where he was.
I wonder where he is now. Still here?
Good. Now you're here, will you help me too? Will you stick the envelope down for me? Just lick the shiny bit, and it will get sticky.
What a funny taste. I'll have to help you now.
Catherine Doe, I'm finally home
What's
on
an
Saturday
envelope
when you're
for,
streaming.
anyway?
Well, today's
You sent
Friday,
my
so you're
letter
here
to
now
me.
as well.
Now I'm going to write my grandmother's name and address on it, so the postman will know who to give my letter to.
Why does the postman have to give it? Why don't you give it yourself? Silly mouse. If Mary could give it, then she needn't write. She could just say thank you very much to her grandmother. But her grandmother lives such a long way away in the country that it's too far for Mary to go herself. So she's
Quite
writing
possibly.
a letter instead.
Optimus Phillips, so
But
welcome
if
to the
it's
stream.
too
How you
far
doing?
for Mary to go, how does it get there? Oh, don't ask so many questions.
Now for the stamp.
What's a stamp for? Oh, Midge.
Mungo, don't get cross with Midge. He's only small and quite young. A stamp is very important, Midge, because it's a way of paying the post office people, like the postman, for all the things they do, so that the letter gets to the person it's being sent to. Mungo, will you stick it on for me, please?
It's stuck on Midge. You silly mouse.
Just a moment, Midge. That's better. Now, Mungo. Thank you. The stamp has to be stuck in this corner.
I'll make sure it doesn't fall off. Now, Mungo and I will go and post it for you. The letterbox is just outside the flats where they live. But as they live in a flat right at the top of the building, they go down to the street by the lift. They have a special way of doing it.
Goodbye, boys. Don't be long.
Josip Koprolchek. Is that how you pronounce it? Welcome to the stream. How you doing?
We must remember to make sure the lift door is shut. But as usual, Midge was in too much of a hurry. He was already outside the flats, waiting at the letterbox. Oh, all right. You post the letter, Midge. It's very dark in there. Mind you don't fall in, Midge. Midge? Midge, are you all right? Midge, you silly mouse. Midge soon got over the surprise of falling in, and then he got used to the dark. He could see quite a lot of letters and postcards.
Bronky Bonky asks, what is this cartoon? This is Jamba. This is Mary Munger and Midge, something I used to watch as a child. This is also the last episode in this playlist, so I'm gonna...
I'll stay here and see what happens.
So I'm probably gonna replace it,
So Mungo sat down near the letterbox and waited as well.
Of Bank Puss when this episode's done.
Midge was enjoying himself so much, he didn't hear the postman arrive in his van. Mungo barked when he saw the postman clear all the letters out of the letterbox into his sack. And he barked louder when he saw Midge being cleared into the sack too. For that inquisitive mouse had decided to go with Mary's letter to see where the postman was going to take it. The postman took it to the post office. Inside the post office, Midge had another good idea. He would stay with Mary's letter to make sure it reached her grandmother. He would also find out how a letter goes all by itself on such a long journey. Midge was very interested and very excited. In fact, he was so interested and so excited that he nearly got caught in the machine that makes a mark on each stamp. That must be the postmark, so that the stamps can't be used again. All the people in the post office were much too busy to notice Midge, so that when Mary's letter was put into a hole with other letters going to the same place, Midge was able to climb in with it. All the letters in Midge's hole were collected, and Midge watched them being tied in a bundle. The bundle and Midge were put into a bag. The bag was put into a van. The van took them to a railway station. And Midge and the letters were put on a train. When the train started, it was beginning to get dark. But it was even darker inside the post bag, and very uncomfortable. At last, the bag was opened. Midge looked out. It was like the inside of the post office, except that he was still on the train. The postman reached for Mary's letter. No, Midge still hadn't been seen. The postman looked at the address on Mary's letter and put it into another hole. Midge watched it carefully. He really felt he was looking after it now. He wasn't sure how long he waited, but he knew that it was quite a long time because he was getting very tired and very hungry. Cheese! I can smell cheese! One of the postmen was eating a cheese sandwich. Some of the crumbs fell onto the floor. Oh, delicious! Oh, scrumptious! Oh, perfect! After that, Midge felt much stronger, and fatter. He also felt rather sleepy. It was morning when Midge woke up. He wasn't in the train anymore. He was at a railway station in the country, in another bag, in another van. The van took him from the station to a much smaller post office in a village. Soon, another postman came and sorted out all the letters. Midge watched him. He thought the postman looked rather like Mungo. Midge was there at last. He felt very pleased and proud as he stood on the doormat with Mary's letter. Mary's grandmother thought Midge was very clever to bring the letter such a long way. She gave him a special breakfast of cheese and cake crumbs and milk. Then Midge felt rather sleepy again, and while he was asleep, Mary's grandfather made a special box for Midge to travel home in. There was sawdust on the floor and more food, and there were holes in the side so that he could breathe and see out. And there was a label that said, "Mouse, with great care." The box was put on a train and after that, onto a lorry. The man from the lorry carried the box very carefully into the flats and knocked on Mary's door. "One mouse for delivery to Miss Mary."
Midge! Oh, Midge, you're back! Mungo, Midge is back!
Mungo pretended not to be very interested, but he had been very worried. Midge had been away for 2 whole days.
I'll have to
"Oh, you're back.
briefly
I
close
suppose you're
Thunderbird.
going to say that you took the letter to Mary's grandmother yourself." "Yes, me and several postmen."
How
There we
did
are.
you get there?
"Oh, by van and train, you know. Oh, and then I went on a bicycle." "What was the van like?" "Oh, not very interesting. I didn't bother to look." "That means you couldn't see it. You were in the postman's sack." "The train was very interesting. And postmen eat cheese sandwiches." "Is that all you can remember?" "Of course not. I'll tell you all about it." And so he did. It was a very, very long story. But you and I already know it all, don't we?
What's that? Now I've got to find Bagpuss. Another kid's show for you.
Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop. There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost, and Emily had found and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry catpuss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing. And Bagpuss was wide awake. And when Bagpuss wakes up, all his friends wake up too. The mice on the mouse organ woke up and stretched. Madeleine, the rag doll. Gabriel, the toad.
Oh, look.
And last of all, Professor Yaffle, who is a very distinguished old woodpecker. He climbed down off his bookend and went to see what it was that Emily had brought.
That is nothing but a rotten old bottle. There may be something inside it, but I can't see what it is because it's too dirty.
We will dust it, we will brush it, we will polish it, top, top, top.
This stream is 2 hours. Ryu?
Brush it, bring the bucket and mop, mop, mop. We will dust it, we will brush it, we will polish it, top, top, top. We will polish it, top, top, top.
The mice scrubbed and polished the bottle until it shone. Then Professor Yaffle could see what was inside it.
Inside that bottle, there are some broken scraps of old wood and bits of cloth. I don't know why they're there.
So, of course, the only thing to do was to open the bottle.
Come on, little Charlie Mouse. Come on, everybody. Shove him in the pluggle hole. Push, push.
Madeleine the rag doll didn't like that.
Stop! Oh, stop! You're hurting poor Charlie
See ya,
Mouse.
Luna Roblox.
Take him out at once. That's right. Now, all you have to do is turn the bottle upside down. Then the things will just fall out.
There are the things, look. Just a heap of scraps. Now, I wonder what that lot was doing in a bottle.
That was once a ship. A ship in a bottle.
Bagpuss was amazed. A ship? In a bottle? There's what? I mean,
What's it doing in a bottle? Where could it sail to? Who could possibly sail in it? It would be much too small.
Oh, I don't know. I've heard of some very small ships. I know of a ship that had mice for sailors. All right, all right. I saw a ship a-sailing on the sea, and over it was laden with pretty things for thee.
Do you too, Ben English?
There were comforts in the cabin and apples in the hold. The sails were made of silk and the masts were made of gold. The 24 sailors that stood between the decks were 24 white mice with chains around their necks. The captain was a dark with a packet on his back, and when the ship began to move, the captain said quack, 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 quack.
Eat your heart out, Kermit.
What a silly song.
No, it's not a silly song. It's a nice song. My sailor's nice song.
Well, I think it's a silly song. It doesn't even make sense.
Look, the mice have got an organ roll for it. Let's sing it again.
The marvelous mechanical mouse organ.
I saw a ship a-sailing on the sea, and over it was laden with pretty things for thee.
There were comfits in the cabin and apples in the hold. The sails were made of silk and the masts were made of gold.
The 24 sailors that stood between the decks were 24 white mice with chains around their necks. The captain was a duck with a packet on his back, and when the ship
hello to you too, Sagittarius. Welcome to the stream.
captain said quack, 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 quack. That's all very well. All that singing and dancing, yes, that's fun. But this ship is still broken. The pieces are just as they were, look. Now, what we need is a story. A magic story. A magic story that will put it together again. Bagpuss. Huh? Bagpuss, you must think of a magic story that will put little broken ships together again.
Oh. All right then. But I shall need a thinking cap.
Come on, fetch with a cap. Come on, mice, find the Bagpuss thinking cap. Come on. There's one. There must be one somewhere. It must be here. Here's one. A captain's cap. Here's a Captain Bagpuss cap.
Yes, my old sea captain's cap. Yes, I can think in that. Thank you. So Bagpuss thought. He thought so hard, his thoughts appeared like magic. Yes. I remember a story. It all happened a long time ago, when I was a sea captain and sailed the 7 seas. I steered my stout 2-masted ship before the western breeze. One day, the breeze forgot to blow. The sea was still, the day was fine. Without a wind we could not go, so I fetched up my rod and line and settled down to fish. Yes, well, there was nothing else to do, you know. When the wind doesn't blow, the ship doesn't go. But I was Captain Bagpuss. I knew the thing to do. I tied a pearl to the end of the string and baited it with glue. That way I caught a mermaid. A pretty child was she. She sat on my lap in the boatswain's cap, and we all drank China tea. We talked for a while, and I said with a smile, "May I ask you a favour, dear, please? If I give you this pearl, will you be a good girl and send us a westerly breeze?" "Delighted," she cried, and jumped over the side, and she dived with a flick of her tail. But the breeze that she sent was not quite what we meant, for she sent us a terrible gale. The poor ship was tossed, and some pieces got lost, and the wind blew away our best sail. And then came a thump and a crash and a bump, just as if we had tripped over a whale. It wasn't, of course, it was something far worse. We had hit this great island of rocks, and our ship was all smashed, and we were all dashed on the shore without any dry socks. The storm ended at last, and the mermaid came past, and she said she was ever so sorry. But it wasn't too tragic, she'd do some more magic, and we would have no need to worry. Then all of the mermaids, for miles all around, went diving and swimming until they had found every piece of our ship from the keel to the tip, and laid them all out in a heap on the ground. Then the mermaids began a most beautiful song, and the song they were singing was magic and strong. The effect was unusual but true, for the pieces of ship began to jump and to skip, and soon they were dancing and waltzing and prancing and twirling and whirling and squeaking and creaking and stringing and ringing and fitting together in time with the measure, till when it was ended, the whole thing was mended. The ship was as perfect as new. Did the magic work? There was the ship beside the bottle, quite perfect. It had been mended by Bagpuss's magic story. All they had to do now was put it back in its bottle, and the whole thing would be as good as the day it was made. Aye, just a minute. That ship's too tall. That would never go through the neck of that bottle.
No, too tall, too small,
Yep, 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 yep. It's perfectly simple. Ships in bottles have folding masts. You fold the masts flat, and then, after the ship is in the bottle, you pull the masts up with a piece of cotton, which is part of the rigging. Oh, so that's how they put ships into bottles. What a clever old bird that woodpecker is. Of course, of course, of course. Now, come on, mice. Fold the masts carefully. That's right. Now, into the bottle with it. Good. Now, very gently, pull on the cotton. Gently. That's right. Now, all we need is a dab of glue on the front of the ship to fix the cotton. Yep, yep, yep. How are you going to do that?
Come on, Charlie, come on, get this glue. That's right.
Very good, very good, very good. Now put in the cork, and it's done.
Push, 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 push.
And there it was, as good as new. The mice dragged the bottle to the front of the window and left it there, so that if the person it really belonged to should happen to come past, they would see it there and come in to collect it. And so their work was done. Bagpuss gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bagpuss goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. The mice were ornaments on the mouse organ. Gabriel and Madeleine were just dolls. And Professor Yaffle was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Even Bagpuss himself, once he was asleep, was just an old, saggy cloth cat. Baggy and a bit loose at the seams. But Emily loved him. Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop. There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost, and Emily had found, and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important,
Hey, green guy.
the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry catpuss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing. And Bagpuss was wide awake. And when Bagpuss wakes up, all his friends wake up too. The mice on the mouse organ woke up and stretched. Madeleine, the rag doll. Gabriel, the toad.
Oh, look, look.
And last of all, Professor Yaffle, who was a very distinguished old woodpecker. He climbed down off his bookend and went to see what it was that Emily had brought.
That is a very dirty, very old piece of rag. I don't know why Miss Emily brought it here. It is much too old and dirty for us to see what it is. If it is anything.
Stop! Stop at once! Stop!
We will wash it.
You will do no such thing. That is a very delicate piece of fabric. If you go bashing and scrubbing at it, you'll spoil it forever. You must treat it gently, lovingly, and very politely.
We are very fond of you. We love you very much.
That's better. Now, one mouse may very gently brush one part of the cloth with one soft brush.
Brush, 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 brush.
The mouse brushed very carefully, and very slowly the pattern of the cloth began to show. Was it a pattern, or was it a sort of picture? What was it?
A wow! A wow!
What happened? The mice saw something that frightened them. What was it? That is a picture of an owl. That's all it is. A picture of an owl, and those foolish mice ran away from it. That is a very old picture of an owl. It has ancient Greek writing on it. Arthe, which means Athens. That is the obol, the owl of Athens. There, you ignorant mice. If you remember that, you will really know something.
The owls of Athens. Yes, they were kings among birds and famous for their beautiful singing.
No, stuff and nonsense. Owls don't sing. They make a sort of hooting noise, you know. To-it, to, or words to that effect.
Maybe you're right. But I know a very ancient story about the owls of Athens. It may not be true, but it is very, very old.
Well, tell it to us then.
At night, in the groves of olive trees that grew on the mountainsides above the city of Athens in ancient Greece, the owls of Athens would gather together and sing lovely songs in the moonlight. Think of it, Bagpuss. It was a beautiful
Hey,
song.
Cole, how you doing?
Think of it, Bagpuss, please.
So Bagpuss thought. And as usual, his thoughts appeared like magic. Oh, will that do?
That's lovely. The owls of Athens sang so sweetly and beautifully that all the animals would come to listen.
I think I'm just going to
This
leave
pleased
Washington
the
on your
owls
side.
enormously. They said to each other, "Surely we are kings and queens, and should be treated as kings and queens." So the owls told the animals that they would only sing to them if they brought presents. Not just good things to eat, but gold and silver and jewels. Well, the animals loved to hear the owls sing, and so, as they had no gold or silver of their own, they crept into the houses of people and stole gold and silver and jewels and took them to the owls. This pleased the owls very much indeed, and they said, "Now we are truly the kings and queens of all." And they sang most sweetly together that night, and the next night, and the night after, and each night
Hopefully the stream will be able to
larger and larger,
chill you out a bit. Cole.
until one night, one clear, cloudless night, the moon, passing overhead, saw the pile of treasure glittering in her light. Then the moon spoke to the owls. She said, "Oh, owls, where did you learn to sing so sweetly?" The owls replied, "Oh, moon, we did not need to learn. We were born able to sing so sweetly. Are we not kings and queens among birds?" Then the moon said, "Why do the animals bring you glittering treasure?" The owls replied, "Oh, moon, they bring us treasure because we told them that if they didn't, we wouldn't sing to them. Are we not the cleverest of all birds?" The moon didn't answer. She sailed away through the sky on her journey. But as she went, she spoke one word of magic. At once there came into the world a number of small, brown, ordinary-looking birds. At least, they looked ordinary, but the moon called them nightingales and perched them in the very tops of the trees. The next night, the owls sang together as usual, but no animals came to hear them. Nobody brought them treasure. They sang alone in the empty grove. An owl said, "Why has nobody come to hear us sing?" Another owl said, "Listen." All around them, in the tops of the trees, the nightingales were singing. As they listened, the owls knew that the singing of nightingales was far sweeter than the singing of owls, and they knew that nobody would ever come to hear them again, or bring them gold and silver and jewels. The owls were angry. They were furious. Who could have played such a trick on them? Hoo! 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 They saw the moon smiling. "You moon," they hooted. "You moon, you are who? You." "That is the sort of song for owls to sing," laughed the moon, "and that shall be their song." And so, from that day to this, that has been the song of the owls.
Yes, quite right and proper. Those owls were proud and mean.
I think it was a sad story. Poor owls.
Look at this, everybody. You can see all the story in the pattern. I wonder what it is.
I know what that is. That is a cushion cover. It was the cover of a cushion for a king.
The cover of a cushion for a king?
That's right.
He must have been a very small king.
He was very small and very bony and cold too in places.
I know, the bony king of nowhere.
That's right.
Come on, mice. There's a roll of music somewhere.
Heave! 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 The marvelous Mickey
The bony king of nowhere, he sat upon his throne. He didn't much like sitting there because his throne was made of stone.
His throne was made of marble white, its feet were made of gold. It was a royal throne, all right, but oh dear, it was extremely cold.
That skinny king of nowhere was feeling very chilly. He said to go on sitting there was really very, and also very chilly.
He jumped up on the tea table and said, please will you find a seat that's soft and suitable to warm a king's bed? Just see what you can find.
They fetched him up a hammock, but they couldn't keep it still. They put him on a rocking horse, the rocking made him very ill.
They sat him on a wool sack, but that rubbed up his knees. They rolled him on a feather bed, but that just made him, it simply made him sneeze.
Thank you, that'll do. That poor old king of nowhere just sat there looking sad. He said, if you could help me, I'd be very, very particularly glad.
Two mice came up from somewhere behind their royal chum. They said, dear king, here is a thing to warm the royal and stop you feeling numb.
The thing, it was a cushion bright of silk and gold brocade, so square and soft and small and light and very neatly of silk and gold brocade.
Now the happy king of nowhere is smiling on his throne. His smile is rosy, his seat is cozy, although his throne is stone, The mice have made it nice, so nice he is a happy king.
And so there have a look. While they were singing, the mice had mended the cushion and stuffed it and edged it with gold braid until it was clean and bright and soft and certainly fit for a king. So Bagpuss placed the cushion neatly in the front of the window and left it there, so that if the person it really belonged to should happen to come past, they would see it and come into the shop to collect it. And so their work was done.
Bagpuss gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bagpuss goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. The mice were ornaments on the mouse organ. Gabriel and Madeleine were just dolls. And Professor Yaffle was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Even Bagpuss himself, once he was asleep, was just an old, saggy cloth cat. Baggy and a bit loose.
Farewell address off. Here we go.
But everybody loved him.
Oh yeah, I need to turn the display capture off because I'm reading. Farewell address. 505 to 8. Okay. It's going to go.
Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop. There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost. and Emily had found and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry catpuss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing. And Bagpuss was wide awake. And when Bagpuss wakes up, all his friends wake up too. The mice on the mouse organ woke up and stretched. Madeleine, the rag doll. Gabriel, the toad.
Oh, look, look.
And last of all, Professor Yaffle, who was a very distinguished old woodpecker. He climbed down off his bookend and went to see what it was that Emily had brought.
Yep, 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 yep. Well, that's a heap of bits and pieces of metal. Painted or enamelled by the look of them. I haven't the slightest idea what they are. Bagpuss, what do you think they are?
Hi, Mattress
Ooh.
Boy, make a video on what would happen if the royal
I
family
really don't
suddenly
know.
died. Pretty sure that other people have
think
already
one of
done
them
that, and it's
looks
not
a
really
bit
kind of
like
in
a
line
dog.
with the kind of thing that I would do.
And the other one? I think it's a cat.
I don't suppose it would be anything like the movie King Ralph, would it? Yeah, this is Bagpuss, another absolute classic of a kids' show. I think any and all kids should have the opportunity to see this.
All that is all very well, but it doesn't tell us anything more about what these things are.
I think they are all that is left of the crown and jewels of a frog princess.
A frog princess? Ridiculous, there's no such thing.
There are in fairy stories.
Yes, fairy story. Yes, tell us a princess fairy story. Yes, please. Tell us, please.
All right, all right. I'll tell you a story. In fact, I will sing you a story if Gabriel will please play for me and Bagpuss will please think for me.
All right. What shall I think of?
Think of a beautiful water princess wearing a tiny silver crown.
Oh, yes. Yes, all right. With pleasure. There, a water princess.
Thank you.
I'll tell you of a princess, a lovely sad princess who lived in the depths of a cool mountain pool. Her crown it shone bright as the frost in They said, you must choose me, it's useless to refuse me. You know you must marry, 'cause that is the rule.
There, you see. That was the rule. A water princess had to marry somebody. But the trouble was, she didn't like any of those proud, stupid water lords. She just couldn't bring herself to choose one of them. But suddenly, she had an idea.
Then the princess replied that at last she decided. She smiled very sweetly and gave a deep sigh. Then she cried, I will marry the one who will carry my small silver crown to me back from the sky. Then upward she sped, took the crown from her pretty head, and threw it as high as she could in the sky.
Eh? What? That's not the end of the story. What happened next? You can't just stop in the middle of the story like that. What did the water lords do next?
Oh, they're still looking for the crown, I expect. You can see them sometimes.
Oh, the water lords took magic and they flew up in the skies. Their cloaks were turned to wings and they grew enormous eyes. Here they fluttered, here they scattered, here they hovered, hot and bothered, and you and I would call them dragonflies. If
In chapter
you
24,
sit
okay.
beside a pool and a summer evening's cool, see their shining bodies gleam as they flit above the stream. They would cause you no surprise, we would call them dragonflies. Yes, you and I would call them dragonflies.
Yep, 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 yep. Nonsense. Rubbish. Dragonflies
2,
are just
3,
dragonflies.
4,
They aren't water
5,
princes
6.
searching for anything. They're just sort of large flies.
I know. It's only a story. Not a word of it is true. It's a watery fairy tale.
Yes, I dare say. But whatever sort of story it is, you haven't finished it yet. I mean, what happened to the crown?
Oh, I don't know. I expect it fell back into the water and she collected it later.
No, she didn't.
Eh? Didn't she?
No. I'll tell you what happened. That was a watery fairy tale, so this is a frog fairy tale. Now,
Here we go.
I'll tell you. Bagpuss,
What?
on that pond there was a lily pad, and on that lily pad there was a frog. A frog, you know, a bit like me, only greener.
A frog on a lily pad? All right if you insist.
I look
That's
sleepy.
right.
That's
Well,
because I'm.
This frog, he looked up and he saw the crown flying past. He
I am
thought it was a
sleepy.
fly, so he shoots out his
It's late
long
and I've got an
tongue and
hour left
catches
of
it.
research.
Glop. Just like that. Luckily, he didn't swallow it. He didn't fancy the taste of it, and he spat it out. Now, he saw what it was, and being a frog and sensible, he dived into the water with it. He knew the princess would be pleased to have her crown back and would give him a reward. So he took the crown back to the princess and gave it to her, but for some reason she didn't seem all that pleased to get it. She looked sad and she said, "So you have brought me back my crown?" And the frog said, "Yes, I have. I thought you'd like it back." The princess looked even sadder.
It's still on reading. That's because I am reading.
"And now I suppose you'll claim your reward." "Oh, well, I wouldn't put it quite like that," said the frog, "but, yes, well, you know, a trifle for me trouble would be welcome." The princess heaved a heavy sigh. "Ah me, it is my fault for being so proud. But what must be, must be. Frog, I will marry you." "You will do no such thing," said the frog. "But I must," said the princess. "I said I would marry whoever brought back my crown, and you brought it back, so it is you I must marry." "But I'm a frog. I don't want to marry a princess. I just thought you'd like your crown back, and you might give me a reward or something. I fancied one of your crystallized starberries, or a glacé lugworm. I'm sorry, said the princess. I must keep my promise. But don't worry, I do not have to marry you as you are. This is a fairy tale, and I have but to place a tender magic kiss upon your ugly brow, and you will turn into a handsome prince. Oh, no, you don't, said the frog, keeping well out of reach. I'm Frog, and I want to stay Frog. I'm not turning into any handsome prince, thank you very much. The princess sighed again. Oh, Frog, how sensible you are. You've no idea how boring it is being a beautiful princess surrounded by all those proud, stupid lords. I often wish I could be something ordinary, like a frog. Well, why didn't you say so in the first place? Said the frog. He hopped forward and placed a tender magic kiss upon the princess's brow. At once, in a flash of watery magic, the princess became a frog. A green, knobbly, squishy frog, just like him.
How many
They
languages
were
can I
married
speak?
and lived happily ever after.
A good bit of English, and a very,
Yeah,
very rusty
that's
French
how
and
all the
German.
best fairy tales end.
That's about it, and some
Frog
Welsh.
fairy tales are no different from any others.
It is a bit different, I should say. Frogs, indeed.
What happened to the princess's crown and her jewels and things?
Well, you know what happened. They turned into the crown and jewels of a frog princess. Only, of course, she wasn't a princess anymore, so she just swam away and left them. There they are.
Of course. Jewels for a frog princess.
Of course, jewels for a frog princess. And so the mice pulled it to the front of the window and left it there, so that if a frog princess, or whoever it really belonged to, should happen to come past, they would see it and come into the shop and collect it. And so their work was done. Bagpuss gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bagpuss goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. The mice were ornaments on the mouse organ. Gabriel and Madeleine were just dolls. And Professor Yaffle was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Even Bagpuss himself, once he was asleep, was just
So
an
we're
old,
watching here. We're watching
shaggy,
Bagpuss,
rough cat.
a very
Baggy
old
and a bit loose at the
British
seams.
kids cartoon that I think pretty much every kid in the world really, really ought to watch.
Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop. There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost, and Emily had found, and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry cat puss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing. And Bagpuss was wide awake. And when Bagpuss wakes up, all his friends wake up too. The mice on the mouse organ woke up and stretched. Madeleine, the rag doll. Gabriel, the toad.
Oh, look, look. Oh,
And last of all, Professor Yaffle, who is a very distinguished old woodpecker. He climbed down off his bookend and went to see what it was that Emily had brought.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's quite obvious what that is. That is one dirty old shoe without any laces. Whatever is the use of one shoe? You couldn't wear it. You'd have to hop everywhere. You can't do anything with it.
Oh, yes, you can. You can do something with it. Old shoes are good shoes.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, what can you do with an old shoe?
You can live in it.
Live in it?
Yes, of course. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. Come on, mice. Have you got a roll of music for your mouse organ?
The marvelous mechanical mouse organ.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread, and she whipped them most soundly and
Oh, good
sent
grief.
them to bed.
Yeah, yeah, is that all?
You see? You can live in a shoe. You can live in a shoe. You can live in a shoe. You can.
Oh, fiddlesticks and flapdoodle. That old woman lived in a great big boot. How many people could live in a little pink shoe like that?
You count them. That will count them. Come on. You count them.
Oh, very well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, stop, 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 stop. This is getting very silly. Too silly. I will not have anything more to do with you until you are properly serious. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, well, it doesn't look a very serious sort of shoe to me. I'm sure there are lots of
I
things
guess
one
you're
can
just
use
a
one shoe for.
100-year-old show, which it was popular
lots
when
of
it was
things.
made digger.
If I can think of any.
I can think of
Those are
one.
words
Oh, can you, Charlie Mouse?
strung together in a
Well, you tell me what you
particular
think,
order.
and I'll think too.
Can't say it means
I
much,
would
but
like to sail it.
Sail it?
Yes. Sail it like a boat. Sail it down the stream.
Oh.
Sail it. Yes. Sail a boat. A boat. Yes. Fetch the sails. Come on. Fetch the paddles. Look. These will do. Look. Feathers for oars. Yes. Fix them in these holes. Yes. That's good. Yes. All aboard. Are you ready, Gabriel?
Yes, I'm ready.
Row the boat gently down the stream.
video about the history of baseball, rounders, and cricket. Because I suppose that could be a. It could be an English to English translator.
Two fine mousies, tall they were and true. They lived in one of your stately houses in jackets of blue and braided trousers, and happy as ever a mouse is, though there were only two, though there were only two.
Row, row, row the boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
But one mouse said, let's leave these shores, let's sail away, dear, please. This shoe will do if we hold the oars and row it along with our delicate paws. We'll row it across the mahogany floors till we find the Stilton cheese, till we find the Stilton cheese.
Row, row, row the boat softly on the floor. Flippity, floppity, slippity, sloppity, who could ask for more?
They rowed and they rowed without a care, but didn't look where they went. Well, you may ask how you would fare, travelling backwards without a care, when you suddenly came to the top of the stair. Well, over the stairs they went, over the stairs they went.
Bing, bang, bongo, bump, heavily down the stairs. Binglety, banglety, bonglety, bumpety, down the apples and pears.
They picked them up from their awful fall and dusted off their knees. Then down the hall by the kitchen wall they rode, and you could hear them call. Or you could if they hadn't been quite so small. Where is that Stilton cheese, where is that lovely cheese?
Row, row, row the boat over the kitchen floor. Ringly, rungly, into the tunnely, under the larder door.
They searched the dishes and tried to spot 'em. Find me a nice bit, please. 'Twas slippery there, but they had forgotten. They tripped and slipped in something rotten, and covered themselves from top to bottom with stinking Stilton cheese, with cheese, revolting Stilton cheese.
Nose, close your doors, what a dreadful pog. Stickily, spockily, clickily, clockily, what a smelly song.
The mice decided they needed a wash. They smelt a bit, it's true. They filled the basin with orange squash and jumped right in with a splish and a splosh, to wash and polish until they were posh and sticky and pretty as new, stickily pretty as new.
Row, row, home the boat, sticky with orange squash. Lickily, stickily, gluily, gummily, what a lot of bosh.
You're quite right there. What a lot of bosh indeed. I've never heard such rubbish. I've never heard such a smelly, sticky song. That song can't possibly have done any good at all to that poor shoe.
That's a good song, yes, mice like that song. Orange squash song, mice like that.
Ridiculous. Go away.
Now then,
Fiddlesticks and flapdoodle.
stop quarrelling at once. I'm sure it's a lovely song if you happen to like that sort of thing. But Yaffle is quite right. We should be looking after the shoe, not singing songs and playing about. It's time for working now, not for singing. Now, mice, if you look in my workbox, you will find some fine satin ribbon for laces and some glittery sequins to stick on the shoe to make it look pretty. Oh, yes, and some of you must brush it and clean it carefully. All right. Well, what are you all standing there for?
Mice like to sing. Mice not sing. Mice not work. Mice strike.
Oh, indeed. Oh, all right, mice. You can sing as long as you work as well.
Bad idea, actually, Dees. Translating like Australian terms into British and American English, that's an interesting idea.
We will smooth it, we'll improve it, we will polish it, pink, pink, pink. We will hush it, love it, flush it. That is better now, don't you think? That is better now, don't you think?
Oh, yes, that is much better. Much, much better. Look, everybody. A beautiful ballet shoe, fit for a prima ballerina.
What? What is a prima ballerina?
Don't you know that? Don't you know that? Fancy Yaffle.
Why, Yaffle, I thought you knew everything.
Well, not everything. Not quite everything.
A prima ballerina is a ballet dancer, the chief ballet dancer, the most important dancer of all, who dances all by herself.
There's one sleeve. No, yes, that sleeve. Heave. The marvelous, mechanical, prima ballerina.
Yep, how charming, oh, quite charming, oh, delightful. Oh, I am moved, what a delightful young lady. Oh, mice, dear mice, do please wind her up and play her again. Oh, dear, no. Oh, I'm a bit tied up. Oh, dear. Yep.
Be careful. Oh, mice. Unwind that foolish woodpecker and put the shoe in the window.
Yep.
So the mice pulled the shoe to the front of the window and left it there, so that if a prima ballerina should happen to come past, she would see it and come in to collect it. Bagpuss gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bagpuss goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. The mice were ornaments on the mouse organ. Gabriel and Madeleine were just dolls. And Professor Yaffle was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Even Bagpuss himself, once he was asleep, was just an old, saggy cloth cat, baggy and a bit loose at the seams. But Emily loved him.
Xander B, hello, welcome to the stream. How are you doing?
Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop. There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost, and Emily had found and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry catpuss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing. Bagpuss was wide awake. And when Bagpuss wakes up, all his friends wake up too. The mice on the mouse organ woke up and stretched.
Again, been English.
Madeleine, the
I
rag
should see
doll,
if I can find some more geography things to read
Gabriel the toad,
and talk about.
Look, look.
and last of all, Professor Yaffle, who was a very distinguished old woodpecker. He climbed down off his bookend and went to see what it was that Emily had brought.
Next. Now we're going to the Adams administration.
What a soggy-looking thing. It's a dirty old sort of bag with legs, made of tartan cloth. I haven't the slightest idea of what it is. I really don't know why Miss Emily
Sell it
brings
to
us
me,
things
Ringo.
like this.
So we can mend them, of course. Clean them and restore them into the beautiful things they once were.
Yep, that's all very well, but we don't know what it once was.
Well, we can try and think of things it might have been. Gabriel, what do you think? It looks a bit froggish, but it has a tartan coat. Is it a Scottish frog?
No, frogs have different sort of legs. And anyway, Scottish frogs are green or brownish, just like frogs anywhere else. I've never seen a tartan frog.
Bagpuss, you are good at thinking. If this isn't a Scottish frog, what is it?
Oh, that's difficult. I shall need a thinking cap.
Here's one. Will this do?
Ah, a tartan thinking cap, a tam o' shanter. Oh, thank you. Let me see if I can think Scottish thoughts in a Scottish thinking cap.
So Bagpuss thought.
Oh, yes, I think I know what that is. I think that is a sort of small, soft Hamish.
And what is a small, soft Hamish, if you please?
Ah, it's an old story. A sad story from the Highlands of Scotland, I will tell you. In the far north of Scotland, there once was a sort of creature who lived in lonely, cold, damp places. They kept away from people and lived alone because they were shy and rather frightened sort of creatures. In fact, they were completely unknown for many centuries and didn't even have a name until they were discovered by the famous Tavish MacTavish. Now, Tavish MacTavish lived all by himself in a tiny house high up in the mountains. He lived there not because he liked to live alone, but because he liked to play the bagpipes. He liked to play the bagpipes, but other people didn't like to listen to him playing the bagpipes because he played them terribly badly. Anyway, one evening he was stamping up and down the shelf beside his house in the last of the twilight. He was stamping to keep his feet warm and blowing away at his bagpipes.
Oh, that's
It
one of
began
your...
to grow dark. He stopped playing and turned to go indoors. He heard a faint noise. It sounded like... Yes, it sounded like somebody playing the bagpipes. He listened delighted. The sound was terrible. There was only one person in the Highlands who played the bagpipes worse than he did, and that was his long-lost brother, Hamish MacTavish. The sound came closer. In the dark, a small humpy shape came towards him. He reached down and touched the shape, and said, thinking it was his long-lost brother, "'Tis very small ye are tonight, Hamish." He patted it and said, "'Tis very soft ye are tonight, Hamish."
I'm making sure not that Hamilton created the
There was
code.
no
I'm trying to
answer.
find some evidence
Tavish
of when
MacTavish
it
was feeling
became
cold
the
about
Coast
knees.
Guard, because when it was
He
founded,
said,
it was called the Revenue
"You'll
Marine.
have had your tea then, Hamish." And as there was no reply, he led the way into his house. There, by the light of his oil lamp, he turned to greet his brother. They were both amazed at what they saw. Tavish MacTavish was amazed because it wasn't his long-lost brother Hamish, but a small, soft creature. And the small,
Boy,
soft
boy,
creature was
what's up,
amazed
boy?
because he thought he had heard another small, soft creature,
Boy!
perhaps his own long-lost brother, crying for help in the cold winter twilight, and had come to help him. Well, once they got over their surprise, they found they were rather pleased to see each other. MacTavish made up the fire and closed the door, and they sat down. MacTavish sat on a stool by the fire, hugging his cold knees, but the small, soft creature liked the cold, so it sat on the floor and leaned on the door. thus blocking up a rather nasty draught. Tavish McTavish called the creature Hamish in honour of his long-lost brother, and they lived there in the lonely house for a long time. They were very happy together for many years, and then, one evening, as they sat quietly by the fire, they heard a sound they recognized. Was it the distant sound of badly played bagpipes, or was it the distant crying of another soft Hamish? Tavish McTavish looked at his friend. He said, "Is it my long-lost brother we hear playing a scuttle on the bagpipes?" The soft Hamish shook its head. "Is it your
Let's see if I
own
can find
long-lost
that.
brother calling you to come home?" asked McTavish. The soft Hamish nodded and looked very sad. "Aye, you must go to your own folk," said McTavish. He rose to his feet, he opened the door, and he saw in the twilight a line of small, soft
Yeah, it was
Hamishes standing
the
waiting
current
for their
Coast Guard was
long-lost
founded in
brother.
1915, originally
His own
founded
soft
in
Hamish ran to join them.
founded as the
They
Revenue
all
Marine.
walked away in line over the hill. The noise they made as they sang together was quite awful, but Tavish McTavish stood and listened until the last notes had died away in the distance. Then he went back into his little house. He picked up his bagpipes, but he didn't feel like playing them any more. "Aye," he said, "it's time to go to my own folk." He put on his boots, closed the door of his house, and, tucking his bagpipes under his arm, he walked down to the village where he had been born. He went to live with his sister-in-law, Mavis McTavish. She was a strict lady and did
Hello,
not like
Doge.
the sound of
No worries.
bagpipes, and he never played them again. It's a very
Maybe you
sad
did make a
story.
video about what would happen if ever all the laws were put off for a
Yep,
week.
yep, yep.
But that is a
not
movie,
only
it's called The
sad,
Purge.
It is silly. It's not only silly, it is not true. There's no such thing as
I
a
mean,
small,
I'm
soft
Deuterium the
Hamish
Sentient
who makes
Mattress, I'm not
noises like
Kurzgesagt.
bagpipes. It is all nonsense. It's quite obvious what that thing is. It is a porcupine.
A porcupine?
Yes. A porcupine without any
commenting
spikes.
strictly on the final stage version.
But there's no such thing. Porcupines have spikes.
Well, maybe it lost them somewhere. What we need is a good song to encourage it to grow some new spikes.
Porcupine Porpentines. Here's the one. Heave, 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 heave. The marvelous mechanical mouse organ.
A friend of mine, a porcupine, went up in a balloon. He sailed it here, he sailed it there, he sailed it nearly everywhere, except perhaps the moon. He sailed with ease across the seas, an inch above the waves, and only joked at getting soaked, at which an ancient codfish croaked, how nicely he behaves. He sailed it rough with snarling tough wild animals below. He sailed it blind and tried
I'm gonna find the specific
some
one.
gentle things to live behind the
Here we go.
sunset's rosy glow. He sailed it hot above a lot of scorching desert sand. He sailed it cold, as I've been told.
Here we go.
where
So I'm
crowds
trying to
of
find as many
happy
sources as I can.
hold their flippers hand in hand. He sailed it high beyond the sky, and then I must explain. A spiky spine, a porcupine, popped his balloon so proud and fine, and brought it down again.
I must say, that doesn't seem to have had any effect on the poor thing.
Well, I should have thought a song like that would rather put it off growing spikes, not made it want to grow them.
Of course, how silly we are. That thing is quite all right, just as it is.
Yes, but what is it?
Oh, it's a porcupine, all right, but it's meant to have no spikes. You add the spikes. It's a pincushion, a porcupine pincushion.
A porcupine pine cushion,
No, a porcupine pincushion.
A porcupine cushion. That's what it is. All we need is pins.
Here's a pin and here's a pingle. Porcupines are always single. Poor old pines, they must not mingle. Pingle, pangle, pingle. Here's a pin and here's a pingle. Porcupines are always single. Poor old pines, they must not mingle. Pingle, pangle, pingle. Here's a pin and here's a pingle. Porcupines are always single. Poor old pines, they must not mingle. Pingle, pangle, pingle. Pingle, pangle, pingle. Pingle, pangle, pingle.
There it is. A perfect porcupine pin cushion. The mice pulled it to the front of the window so that if anybody should happen to come past who had happened to lose a porcupine pin cushion, they would come in and collect it. And so their work was done. Bagpuss gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bagpuss goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. The mice were ornaments on the mouse organ. Gabriel and Madeleine were just dolls. And Professor Yaffle was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Even Bagpuss himself, once he was asleep, was just an old, saggy cloth cat. Baggy and a bit loose at the seams. But Emily loved him. Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop. There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost, and Emily had found, and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry catpuss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing. And Bagpuss was wide awake. And when Bagpuss wakes up, all his friends wake up too. The mice on the mouse organ woke up and stretched. Madeleine, the rag doll. Gabriel, the toad.
Oh, look! Look!
And last of all, Professor Yaffle, who was a very distinguished old woodpecker. He climbed down off his bookend and went to see what it was that Emily had brought.
Right. What if Poland got out of its place and went to the moon? Well, I don't know what to say about that. All I can say is that Poland cannot
Now,
into space. What
all
are you
this?
thinking?
Bits and pieces. Broken bits and pieces of things.
Nothing broken. Those things are not broken. Wait a minute. We'll fix them together. We'll do it. We'll fix it. We'll
Let's get the book open again.
fix it up bit by bit. We don't mind at all. We will find it all. Find each bit and make it find it all. Find each bit and make it fit.
Ah, yes, a turtle. Look, everybody, a turtle.
It's alive. It's real. It's nodding its head.
No, it isn't real. It's only a model of a turtle.
Are there any real turtles here?
Oh, no, turtles live a long way across the sea. At least I think so. Madeleine, do you know if there are any real turtles living around here?
Oh, no. This country is too cold for turtles to live out of doors. There may be some in zoos and special places like that.
Yes, that's right. The only turtles around here that I've ever heard of were very cold and
142, that
sad,
seems
and
quite
very
sensible.
glad to go home to Montego Bay.
Oh, yes. How did they go home?
Shall I tell you?
Yes, tell us.
All right, then. If you get the roll of turtle music,
Heave, 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 heave. The marvelous mechanical turtle organ.
Oh, I'll tell you of turtles who swam in a lily pond around and around on a cold summer's day. They sang of their loved ones, of whom they were very fond in their tropical homeland so far, far away. Oh, the turtles, they wept as they swam round their lily pool. We wish we could just see our loved ones one day. Said one, oh, you may think that I am a silly fool to go there by boat's a convenient way.
Oh, the turtles turned round and walked out of their lily pool to stop a red bus. They just held out a hand, took a 10-penny ride to the dark land of Liverpool, and there they set sail for their long lost homeland.
Oh, the turtles were happy and shouted, away we go. Their ship bore them over the blue briny sea, until they hove to in the Bay of Montego, and there all their uncles and aunts they did see.
What a pretty song. How nice. I did enjoy that. I do like a song with a happy ending. It was a lot of rubbish, of course, absolute rubbish. Turtles don't go on ships and buses. Turtles don't even weep. It's all nonsense. And in any case, we haven't fitted all the pieces together yet, have we? What about those other pieces?
We will fit it up. We will fit it up. We will fit it up bit by bit. We'll locate it, complicate it, find each bit and make it fit. Find each bit and make it fit.
Look at that. That's a little man. He's a funny-looking little chap, isn't he?
He's not a funny-looking chap, as you put it. He is a Chinese gentleman of great wisdom and respectability. I think his name is Huang Hai, and if I am right, he is the wise man of Ling Po. Yes, well, I dare say, but Bagpuss, you must think some Chinese thoughts for me.
Oh, no.
Chinese thoughts? Oh, dear, I don't know. I think I shall need a Chinese thinking cap to think Chinese thoughts.
I'm not going to lie, I'm going to skip this one just because I'm kind of worried about it. I'm going to skip on over to the Mouse Mill episode because this is my favourite episode.
Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop.
76, let's try page 76.
There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost, and Emily had found, and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry catpuss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing. And Bagpuss was wide awake. And when Bagpuss wakes up, all his friends wake up too. The mice on the mouse organ woke up and stretched. Madeleine, the rag doll. Gabriel, the toad.
Look.
And last of all, Professor Yaffle, who was a very distinguished old woodpecker. He climbed down off his bookend and went to see what it was that Emily had brought. A box. Yes, a box. A box of what, I wonder? Oh, that's odd. A box with a front door.
That's not a box. That is a house.
A house? No, that's a box. Who would live in a box like that?
Yep, there's 15 minutes left.
Ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's a mouse house. It is. We will mend it, we'll extend it, we will open its top. We will grow it, then we'll show it. This is what we have got. This is what we have got.
Oh, yes. Very interesting. It does seem to be a sort of house. Windows and doors, look. And a sort of crane on the top. There's a wheel on the side of it, too. Very peculiar. I wonder what sort of mouse would live in that sort of house.
I know who lives in it.
Do you, Charlie Mouse? Well, you tell me.
A miller.
A miller? Yes, of course. That is a mill, and that is the mill wheel on the side. It's a water mill.
Of course. We know a song about a miller, don't we, Gabriel?
That's right. And the mice have a roll of music for it too.
Page 174. I'm trying to find this quote.
The marvelous mechanical mouse organ.
Ploughman, ploughman, plough me a field, turn me an acre of land. Ploughman, ploughman, harrow the ground, drill in the seed and roll it down, for the
sleet and hail again as the year will go.
Miller, miller, take up the grain, pour it out like sand. Miller, miller, open the rill, to turn the wheel and work the mill, to grind the grain to flour and fill the sacks below.
Shine the sun and rain the rain, fall the shivery snow. Hail and wind and sleet again as the year will go.
Baker, baker, the flour is here, soft and fine and bland. Baker, baker, get out of bed, put that silly old hat on your head. Bake me a loaf of golden bread, and then I'll go.
Blow the wind and rain the rain, fall the shivery snow.
Nicholas Machado, what?
Soon the sun will shine again as the year will
Well, you saw the water step.
go.
Cool. Feel a little bit of info.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, certainly we don't really know what it is, except that it is some sort of mill or house. We don't know who lives there. I suppose somebody must live there.
We'll ring the bell. Hello? Hello?
Nicholas, I am very much engrossed
Hello?
in reading.
You are all playing games again. Now, please do be serious. We have to find out what that thing is for.
It is a mouse mill.
Oh, is it a toy?
No, not a toy. A real mouse
A
mill.
real mouse mill?
Last 10
What
minutes of
does
the
it
stream. I'm
make?
probably just going to
Chocolate biscuits.
Chocolate biscuits.
come up with some questions for we know.
Oh, ridiculous. Fiddlesticks and flapdoodle. There is no such thing as a mill that makes chocolate biscuits.
What does it make the chocolate biscuits out of?
Breadcrumbs and butter beans.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Ridiculous, ridiculous. You can't make chocolate biscuits out of breadcrumbs and butter beans.
Are you ready, mice? All mice ready for duty, sir. Butter beans and breadcrumbs ready for inspection, sir.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Thank you, Charlie Mouse. Yes. Well, yes. Very well, very well. Carry on then. Thank you, thank you.
Come on, then. Bring them over here. Bring them over to the mill. Which do you want first? Breadcrumbs first, please. Heave, 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 heave. That's the breadcrumbs. Now the butter beans. Heave, 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 heave. The marvelous mechanical mouse mill.
Hey, look. A chocolate biscuit.
More breadcrumbs. More butter beans. This is
thought of that. I was even tired. I am.
Chocolate biscuits. Real chocolate biscuits. I think I might just taste one. Oh, he's taken it away. They are chocolate biscuits, all right, Yaffle. The mice put breadcrumbs and butter beans in the top, and they work the mill, and out come chocolate biscuits. Impossible, impossible. I don't believe it. It isn't true. I'm going round the back to see what's happening. Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Yaffle, don't go round the back. No.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yaffle is going round the back. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Right then. Stop the mill. Let us see what goes on here.
There we are.
Now then, there is the place where the breadcrumbs go in. And that leads down to, yes, the breadcrumb bag. And that's the place where the butter beans went in. And that leads down to, yes, the butter bean bag. And then I suppose you mice wheel the bags round to the front and hoist them up again.
That's right. That's what we do.
So what makes the chocolate biscuits?
Put a chocolate biscuit on here. It slides down the chute. And Willie Mouse brings it back again.
So you use the same chocolate biscuits over and over again.
That's right. Over and over again. That's how
So it's all a trick. You don't make chocolate biscuits out of butter beans and breadcrumbs.
Oh, no. No, of course not. Butter, beans, and breadcrumbs. You can't make
It's a
chocolate
trick.
biscuits.
It's a deception. It's an illusion. A rotten trick. Bagpuss, do you realize those mice have been playing a trick on us? Do you realize? Bagpuss, Bagpuss. Oh, yes, well, I thought it was a trick. I did sort of suspect it. I mean, you can't really make chocolate biscuits out of butter beans and...
Look out, everybody. Bagpuss is going to sleep again. Push the mill into the window. Quick now. He'll be asleep in a minute. Hurry. Yaffle, back on your bookend. Quick.
Bagpuss gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bagpuss goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. The mice were ornaments on the mouse organ. Gabriel and Madeleine were just dolls. And Professor Yaffle was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Even Bagpuss himself, once he was asleep, was just an old, saggy cloth cat. Baggy and a bit loose at the seams. But Emily loved him.
I'm going to leave that there because it's 5 minutes till the end of the stream. gonna leave that there, but what's since I covered that? It was one last time I know him, Adam's administration, and we know. Well, let me tell you guys. Let me sort of tell you. I can't help but get the feeling that these notes are going to end up being a real pain to sift through. And a real pain when I discovered new inaccuracies as I'm recording, because that happens sometimes. That does happen quite a lot when researching. Then again, I haven't done much research for any other videos for a while. Yeah, give me a minute whilst I. Find someone to raid. Pepper streaming. Hey, I'll check YouTube. Pepper streaming right now. No. Thought not. Let me see. Let's go to general. Who's streaming? Anyone streaming? It's another yawn. Wilkie doesn't stream at this kind of time. She streams when it's like 1 AM my time. How about Yuri's? Yuri's streaming? No, I don't think she is. Wait, I think she might be. No, that was... No, that was this morning. Is Vanek streaming? No, not yet. Lillian? Lillian's not streaming. Celeste. Let's see. Congrats, Wolf Defender. If anyone was going to do something like that, it's you. You've got the drive. Your drive is fantastic. Well, Sue is streaming. Mamiya? I'm really having trouble finding someone to raid. I know that Pixie's not streaming today. Let's see if Stubby's streaming. Nope, I typed it in wrong. Is Stubby streaming? No, she's not. Oh, I might be able to see who is. Now that I'm on Twitch. How about Maymay? Why not? Let's raid Maymay. Raid Maymay's live. Let me just put that on the thing, just so I can fiddle with the raid thing. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. There it is. There's their Twitch link. Please do me a favour and do join the raid if you can. It makes me feel happy to support my friends like that. Anyways, pretty productive stream. I think the next one might bring me even closer to finishing.